Hello, my name is Elena Sorensen, and in this speech, I'm human, so I will stutter. So ignore and please ignore any of the stuttering I do because I've taken this video too many times and I'm done. This is the last time. Anyways, in this speech, I will be discussing the topic of agroforestry. Agroforestry is a regenerative farming process that integrates livestock, crops, and trees to ultimately create a sustainable, adaptable, and resilient farming system. The natural world is a multifaceted playground that thrives off of symbiotic relationships, biodiversity, and resilient adaptability. Acquiring different resources for day-to-day living is reliant on the environment around us, thus making it important to integrate practices that support the diversity of our environment. Agroforestry is a regenerative process of agriculture that has deep roots in traditional indigenous land management. Combining agriculture and forestry to manage land more efficiently relies on practices like integrating trees, shrubs, crops, and livestock to mimic the natural functions of a forest. Growing up, the birds and bees was always a topic I found great fascination in. I'm not embarrassed to talk about the natural processes of reproduction because when I put this narrative into perspective, I'm able to spot the synchronicities that keep our world spinning, pollinating some of our favorite flowers to reproducing those same flowers through seed dispersal are important jobs that our birds and bees maintain to keep improving our ecosystems. As climate change and mass production of resources increase, the urgent need for resourceful and innovative environmental economic solutions are crucial. I believe agroforestry is the answer. Instead of favoring single crop production with massive scales, agroforestry encourages multifaceted farming systems that stimulate biodiversity not only in our environment, but in our interpersonal communities, systems that alleviate consequences of climate change, like capturing harmful atmospheric carbon with effective land management. Lastly, systems that identify gaps in ecological and social imbalance. That ultimately finds strategies to diversify farming income. Accumulated knowledge and experience from land management and overall agroforestry is shaped by indigenous communities. Networks like EcoTrust focus on connecting land stewards and traditional gatherers across the Northwest region of America to bring forth sustainable practices, protect habitats, and ultimately build relationships with the land around us. On EcoTrust's website, they state, as we look to a climate-resilient future, we work to shift power to communities that carry traditional ecological knowledge and who have been systematically excluded from the climate crisis conversation. Part of building trust is the simultaneous acknowledgement of the systematic issues that must be addressed at their core. By increasing visibility, recognition, and equitable access to resources needed for established practices, EcoTrust has paved pathways to respect the Earth's natural process and accumulated knowledge from communities that use agroforestry to restore our environment. Over the past 50 years, the impacts of climate change threaten the stability of our ecosystems. This situation has indisputably been fueled by the total ignorance of climate change at the hands of, but not limited to, farmers dominating the agricultural industry. Increasing temperatures, droughts, surges in greenhouse gases, and biotic stress Western agriculture forced half the population to rely on impacts the extreme environmental crisis our planet is under. Farmers are forced to seek alternatives in an attempt to build a more sustainable life and alleviate the consequences of going against the natural reproductive processes of the world. So agroforestry systems are equipped with practices that can overcome these challenges. Systems like conducting landscaping needs, promotion of sustainable and nutritious crop production, and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. These resourceful tactics provide nothing but expansion that is crucial in sustaining and balancing our environment. Supporting life on Earth is derived from the byproduct of photosynthesis, oxygen. Plants absorb carbon monoxide from the atmosphere and convert it into organic compounds that not only provide plants with energy, but our environment with its crucial byproduct. But constant burning of fossil fuels, major land development that erases native plants, that focus on single crop production, and enormous amounts of waste increase the amount of carbon in our environment. So now there is an imbalance. Excessive carbon traps heat, causing the Earth's temperature to rise. Threats to our ecosystems grow, while simultaneously the creation of plants with specific traits that lack genetic diversity have become increasingly dominant and favored in the continued production of resources. Traditional terraced crops now have gradually begun to lack richness and nutrition, or just downright disappeared through industrial crop production. With an assortment of traditional or holistic practices harnessed through agroforestry, the diversity of crop species in a single place can be used more efficiently, encouraging natural processes like nutrient cycling, water regulation, and carbon sequestration, ultimately reducing agricultural emissions and waste. Diversifying the production of crops in a single area provides environmental productivity and financial productivity. Well-designed agroforestry systems produce multiple products, including fruits, leaves, seeds, even woods. Economic value catapults not only for the direct product, but environmental outcomes as well. Carbon sequestration, nutrient cycling, improved soil water quality, and all can be harnessed in successful agroforestry systems. But undeniably, global distribution, the mass production of single crop species, has shaped our agricultural industry and generally the primary economic sectors that keep our economy healthy and running. With climate change on the rise, studies show that regions like Ethiopia and Tigray, who are the most vulnerable to droughts and flooding, have limited access to technology and financial resources, lacking the necessary funds or knowledge to establish and maintain agroforestry systems, preventing expansion and finding new ways to counter global warming, so environmental and economical threats only grow. The recognition of agroforestry as a crucial system needs collaborative policy reforms and organizations that provide grants and or loans, because considering any transition into agroforestry involves initial investments. Additionally, financial patience is required for most crops to produce anything significantly profitable, which isn't reliable for economically disadvantaged communities. Ultimately, these financial and educational resources play a bigger role in helping farmers overcome the systematic financial and ecological barriers that revolve around single crop production. With promising pathways towards sustainability, agroforestry remains hindered by financial, educational, and infrastructural barriers, especially in vulnerable regions. But by investing and demanding support from our government and financial institutions, the creation of an inclusive agricultural future can address the imbalance in our economic and ecological systems. In conclusion, mimicking the cooperative dynamics found in our parks, hiking trails, even backyards promotes the essential biodiverse resilience needed for long-term productivity. Agroforestry reconnects us with wisdom passed down by our community, acknowledges important land management techniques, and teaches us essential processes needed for regenerating health, survival of our economy and overall environment. Thank you so much. Thank you.